And those uncertainties are also growing among South Korean industries who were caught off guard by Biden's withdrawal of the race. Now, as much as there are great interest in learning about the new Democratic candidate, there are also growing concerns over a possible second term of the Donald Trump administration. Let's turn to Professor Hur Joon-young for more. Great to have you back.
Hello.
So when Trump was in the White House, he was, all about America first. Professor Ha, please remind us and walk us through his policies, especially in terms of trade.
Okay, so former President Donald Trump, during his presidency, began to establish tariff and other trade barriers against countries, including China, with the aim of forcing changes in what the U.S. calls unfair trade practices. Through this, he sought to impact negatively countries exporting goods to the United States and to protect jobs within the United States.
Right. So the policy itself speaks for itself, putting America first. Now, South Korea's steel industry, let's start with the steel industry, is also on high alert after going through the Trade Expansion Act during the Trump administration. Now, why is it, again, such a concerning matter for the steel industry?
Let's go back to the history. In 2018, former President Trump signed an executive order imposing a 25% tariff on imported steel. The background of this action was like in 2017, the U.S. trade deficit in steel significantly increased compared to the previous year, exceeding $30 billion. A 25% tariff on steel was imposed on all countries except Canada and Mexico, which were protected under the USMCA. Impacting the steel industry in those countries. Before this measure, South Korea and the United States traded most steel product tariff-free. However, by utilizing non-tariff barriers such as anti-dumping and countervailing duties to restrict the import of Korean steel, the U.S. caused losses in South Korea's steel export to the United States.
And when speaking of trade from, exports to imports, we have to talk about South Korea's automobile industry. Should automobile industry be concerned again? I mean, it did see its largest surplus with the U.S. last year. Will there be a bumpy road ahead?
Yeah, so I think so. Former President Trump pledges and statement can be summarized as increasing tariff on automobile imports, reducing support for eco-friendly vehicles, and changes in macroeconomic policies. There are concerns that if President Trump were to return to power and the value of the dollar weakened, the profitability of exporting Korean cars could deteriorate. Additionally, energy policies are not favorable to Korea. For example, increasing oil price could lead to lower oil prices, which would boost the preference for low fuel efficiency vehicles and temporarily benefit U.S. companies with a high share in this sector.
Professor Ha, what we do have to point out here is that the economy doesn't come alone anymore. It's aired with security nowadays, for instance, semiconductors. Yep. Will South Korea's strong, reliable chip exports be protected and actually stay in good terms under a possible Trump administration? What do you think?
Former President Trump has mentioned trade sanctions in the semiconductor sector against China. The U.S. is reportedly considering applying the foreign direct product rule in negotiations with allies countries regarding semiconductor sanctions against China. So the FDPR is a regulation that requires products produced abroad to obtain approval from the Department of Commerce if they use American technology or software in their production. So I think this will have kind of crucial impact on the a potential impact on the Korean semiconductor companies.
Definitely. So you've just mentioned what may be rolled out under a possible second term of the Trump administration. Then how can our local steel, automobile and chip firms actually prepare themselves for the worst case scenarios?
The message from the U.S. government, no matter which administration will happen, is clear. Increasing domestic production in the United States aimed at creating jobs within the country. So currently, many of our companies benefit from the USMCA and have established factories in Mexico where labor costs are lower. if the emphasis shift toward production in the United States, not in Mexico, these companies might face the need to relocate their factories to the United States. However, the U.S. has higher wage and elevated costs for factory construction and maintenance. Therefore, it is essential for our government and companies to anticipate and prepare for potential changes in U.S. trade policies.
Indeed, whoever comes into power. All right, Professor Ha, thank you so much for your insight. As always, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too.